You're not unhappy exactly. That's what makes it hard to explain. There's no big fight to point to, no obvious betrayal, no reason your friends would understand if you tried to describe it. You just feel like you're going through the motions, like the relationship is a room you live in that you stopped living in somewhere along the way. Everything is in place, the routines are intact, but something that used to be there isn't anymore. And the strangest part is you can't tell if it's the relationship or you. Viktor Frankl had a name for what's missing. The obvious explanation is that you've grown apart. You want different things now, maybe. But that doesn't explain why people stay in this feeling for years, why they keep renovating the room instead of asking whether they want to live there. The second explanation is that you're depressed. The emptiness is yours, not the relationship's. Also possible, but there's a specific texture to this. Depression empties everything. This one empties the relationship while leaving other parts of your life feeling fine. Frankl noticed this pattern. He went looking for what was actually missing. He called the underlying need the will to meaning. His idea was that the deepest human drive isn't pleasure or safety or even love. It's meaning. The need to feel that your life is pointing toward something. When a relationship carries meaning, the hard parts are bearable. You fight and repair, and it costs something, but it's worth it because the relationship itself is worth something. When it doesn't, the easy parts feel hollow. You have a good week and it still feels like something is off. You're not suffering. You're just not alive in it. Frankl called the absence of meaning an existential vacuum, a void that comfort and routine and even love can't fill. Because what's missing isn't a feeling, it's a direction. The relationship that's lost meaning often looks perfectly functional from the outside. Bills paid, dinners shared, weekends accounted for. The structure is intact. But the reason you're doing all of it has quietly disappeared. Maybe it was always about safety, and safety was enough for a while. But safety without meaning eventually produces this particular flatness. Staying because leaving is harder. Fine is a form of empty. Here's the hard part. You can't manufacture meaning. You can't decide to find it meaningful and feel it. But you can ask a question most people in this situation never ask. What would this relationship need to be about to feel like it matters? Not what does it provide, not what would be lost if it ended. What would it need to be moving toward? Because a relationship without direction isn't just empty. It's using up the time you could spend building something worth building. Frankl survived things most people can't imagine. And what he found was this. People can endure almost any suffering if they can find a reason for it, but they can't endure a comfortable life that means nothing. Think about your relationship right now. What is it for? Not what does it provide. What is it for? If you don't have an answer, that's worth sitting with, not as a verdict on the relationship, as a starting point, because a relationship can find its direction again, but only if someone is honest enough to notice it's lost it. Next video, why heartbreak can change your life. Frankl had very specific ideas about what suffering is actually doing, and once you understand it, you'll never look at pain the same way again. Subscribe. We go deeper every week.